Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscaper podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing business content from accomplished leaders to bring you value, to scale your business, and to better yourself personally. And really, hopefully, you enjoyed. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard. Really happy to be joined today by Stuart Ross. I met Stuart a few weeks ago at the Scaling Up conference in Dallas, and first time meeting him. Super nice guy from England, and he was telling me all about his book, which we'll get into today. But Stuart, welcome to the show today.
Hey, thank you, Robert. Great to be here.
So, Stuart, just for our listeners, tell the audience a little bit about your background and just where you've come from.
So my background started off very much in the corporate. I started off as a fashion buyer many years ago for one of the big retailers in the UK. And then I moved into basically Boots the Chemist, which is owned by sort of Walgreens, or a partnership with sort of Walgreens in the actual US, and was there for a number of years, initially heading out a lot of the buying areas before heading up sort of the marketing and the international expansion, for the company. I then left Boots and moved into a scale-up organization myself. So I was a part owner of a tech company, which we then scaled up and we then sold on, providing tech to shopping centers around the world. And then for the last 14 years, I followed my passion. My passion is really about helping individuals, helping companies really realize their potential. So that's what I've done primarily, through high growth, as well, as investing in a few businesses as well.
Cool, awesome. That's a good background, some good experience to share with others, especially who are involved in scaling up. And then obviously what was the impetus towards writing a book? I mean, a lot of people have an idea. But I mean, I've written a couple myself now, and it's really tough to go from having an idea in your head to then putting stuff down on paper and just that discipline, following through in it to getting it completed. So what was that mindset around getting a book under your belt?
Well, it's more, I think it's twofold. It's one about getting the message out there. And I think, secondly, it's a topic which, surprisingly enough, has not been well written about. So although there are a lot of methodologies out there about how to go and scale a company, scaling up, which I'm very much an advocate and a partner of, as well as a whole load of other schemes, from EOS to strategic group to whatever, there's very little being written about the scale up leader. And what I recognize over working with more than about a couple of thousand sort of clients now is basically that's where it really starts, and that's also where it can also fail. Unless you've got the actual right mindset to lead, unless you've got the right habits and the right skills to go and take your organization where it is to the next level, you're not going to go and do it. So for me, there's a message very much out there. If you can actually master those skills, it starts with you as a leader, then the whole journey about scaling and growing a company is going to be a lot more easier and hopefully a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great message here. Now, obviously, with you getting into the business and becoming a leader yourself, talk about that journey yourself, because a lot of time I talk to either clients or people on the podcast show and just talk about how people are often moved into a leadership type role but never given any type of training or development. So talk to me about your journey going through that leadership path.
I suppose it was a mix. I mean, in some ways, I was quite fortunate because I went through a corporate background. I got some amazing sort of education and amazing sort of training to support me on my growth journey, becoming more of a leader and more of a manager. But as probably we all do, we all make all the mistakes under the sun when it comes to leading people and managing people. And it's also about sort of capturing, those learnings. But for me, there came a time when you almost gain a reputation within the company I was in, was saying, okay, I want to go and work for you. People wanted to come and actually work with me because it was a great team, which I was sort of forming. And I guess that's partly what precipitated my growth when I left, the corporate world and managing and leading sort of companies into okay, there's a skill here that I've got, which is clearly about attracting, motivating, inspiring sort of leaders and teams. How can I actually make more use of that and get that message and stuff out there?
Oh, that's great, because it's quite interesting you say that, because when you look at some of the stats around why people leave their jobs or leave their positions, a lot of the time it's to do with a bad manager or a bad leader. But the fact that you had
100%.
people, 100 people, wanting to come and work with you, what did you feel as though some of the either practices or traits that you use to either inspire your team or just get them motivated?
Well, interesting enough, a number of years ago, I was coming back from the States, and I ended up picking up the Time magazine, and in that there was an article about the top 100 most influential and most successful leaders of all time. And there was a particular quote in there, and a quote, I think it was by Bono. I'm not sure it's Bono from U2, but there was a Bono and stuff in there, which basically, he says something along the lines of, it has been said after meeting with the great Prime Minister William Gladstone, you were left feeling you were the smartest person in the world. But then after meeting with his rival, who was Benjamin Disraeli, you were left thinking you were the smartest person. So either he was the smartest person or you were the smartest person. And then that 8-hour journey back from LA at that time, I spent my time thinking through in terms of all those leaders and managers I've worked for, where I left the room feeling they were the smartest person, or I left the room where I felt I was the smartest person. And then a couple of years later, actually, Vern Harnish brought on to one of his conferences a lady called Liz Wiseman. She wrote a brilliant book called Multipliers. And in that, she builds on that concept further. She says, well, really, there are two types of leaders in the world. You've got really the diminishers and the multipliers. The multipliers, believe there's an abundance intelligence out there. People can go and work it out for themselves. And then you've got those diminishers, which believes there's scarce intelligence. Unless they're there, then people won't go and work it out for themselves. So there are some great characteristics she highlighted. So for diminishers, she highlighted they were tyrants. They tend to be micromanagers. They tend to make decisions in isolation. They tend to hoard and underutilize talent. But then the multipliers are the opposite. They attract the best talent. They challenge people. They encourage debate. They instill ownership and accountability. It's not surprising that the multipliers get doubled in terms of what people are capable for, where diminishers, you do just enough to go and get by, just make sure you're still in the job. So it's a nice distinction. Although I paint two extremes of stuff there, the majority of people will lie somewhere in between those two extremes. It's just being aware in terms of where you lie, and there may be times that you move to accidental, diminishing behaviour. I know, I used to, I still do to a degree, where I'll go and tell people what to do because I'm under pressure or there's no time. That's also quite diminishing, quite demotivating. And just building on that, one of the things I have noticed and stuff from that is, if you look at the entrepreneurs as they move from startup to scale up, when they start out, it's all about them doing everything themselves together with their team. So having everything under their control. So one of the challenges I have to see scale up leaders go, which I very much sort of coach them through, and I'm sure you do too, is almost that ability to go and let go, the ability to go and trust other people as they go and scale, and the ability to become more of a multiplier. And there's quite a few, I guess, great businesses and people which I've met which are unable to make that transition as they move on to that scale up. And therefore made their life a lot more difficult.
No, that's great. There's some great messages in there. I mean, I agree 100% that Liz Wiseman book on multipliers is an outstanding book. I have also heard a quote about from Bono, but filling the room as your smartest person possible. Now, when you came back from that journey from LA, I mean, obviously things didn't happen overnight where you started to change your mindset and how am I going to, be that multiplier in your business. What were some of the things you started to put in place? Because, it's probably a little bit, again, a journey there in trying to change your approach, how you're going to coach all the people beneath you. So talk me through that a little bit more.
I think you're right, and exactly that. It doesn't happen, overnight at all. I think that the first thing, as you go on any leadership journey, is being that self-aware and that awareness in terms of where you are and where you can go and improve on. So just being that awareness almost gives you a different lens about how you go and manage and how you go and motivate sort of individuals. But for me, at that stage, it was I guess the hardest lesson I actually learned was almost the ability to go and let go. Yeah, the ability to go and let go and start trusting other individuals more, and coaching them, as opposed to telling them in terms of what to go and do. So it's a journey I think you go, particularly as a leader, to become more of a multiplier. Also, not surprisingly, you're more of a natural, or become more of a coach as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Now, in your book, you talk about to be almost like a scale-up leader, you need to take out advantage of opportunities ahead of you. And through my time in dealing with either EO or some of my clients, I feel sometimes leaders or CEOs get into almost like a lifestyle mindset where they're just comfortable in their situation. Maybe they want to grow a little bit, but they're not really grasping onto these opportunities, or going out there being a little bit more daring or innovative. What's your thoughts around that, and how do you handle then those leaders that are in that comfort zone?
Yeah, that's a great observation, and I think sort of two things. One is, particularly as a leader, and as a leadership team, you need to be growing faster than your company. So therefore, you need to make sure you adopt and you have that growth attitude, that growth mindset in place. And really, if you look at, I see sort of leaders, and again with individuals, there are two types of leaders: those which are almost that fixed mindset, almost coming back to Carol Dweck's book, which I think is around sort of mindset. That fixed mindset, that rock which is impermeable, and the ones which are more of sponges and we're ready to go and absorb as much learning as they can. So part of it is making sure the habits are instilled within the leader to go and actually scale, to go and grow themselves as well as their business, stay ahead of the game. The game changing, I think, strategy for me, which really sort of stimulates that, is more, it's the old adage, who you mix with is who you become. Yeah. So one thing certainly I've done, and I encourage my clients to do, is say, okay, you need to go and change who you're spending your time with. Now, your time with could be what books, what podcasts are you listening to? But also, what about those people? What about those peers that you go and spend time to? Are they dragging you down? Are they sapping your energy? Do they not believe in you? Or they're inspiring you to go and grow and move on to that next level? So one of the things I certainly do with a lot of my clients is encourage them to think, right, who are they spending time with? And how can they go and upgrade their immediate sort of peer group to go and take them to sort of a new level, and inspire them onto that new level as well.
No, I love that, and it actually ties into something I do, similar to that, where I almost take an evaluation probably every 6 months, and who are the people I'm hanging out with? Are they enhancing my life, or are they detracting away from it? And if they're detracting, if there's negativity there, or they're not lifting me to the next level, then I just quietly move on and find a different group or a different set of leaders that I can get inspired by. So I agree with you 100%. Now, when you were preparing for the book, you must have you've obviously got a tremendous amount of experience through your leadership journey, but just being around other companies, what type of research did you do in preparing for this book?
Clearly a lot of desk research, and reading a lot of books, there's some great sort of, I guess, indicators in the likes of the things like Good to Great, and all those books are fantastic to go and give you some insights into what makes a great leader. But also as I said, for me, it was about spending time. So the more time I spent with leaders, the more you start seeing those patterns, those trends, those dots will start joining up, and those commonalities. So yes, I did a lot of research, spending time with leaders, but also a lot of questionnaires and qualitative research as well, understanding them.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great research there. But one of the things that we talked about just before we went live, though, is things are obviously constantly evolving. We talked about Elon Musk, and again about his news and innovation and how he's changing the mindset for a lot of people. How do you see Elon and examples like him? Jeff Bezos, and there's obviously a few others I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's again constantly evolving in terms of leadership.
Yeah, and yeah, it's quite interesting. One of the things they do. I mean, Elon's a classic example. He's a consummate sort of learner, and he gets real passion and energy. You can see him from learning and joining the dots and seeing things that other people cannot see. Yeah, very similar to I guess Steve Jobs. But one of the things he does do, I think, successfully, and I describe it in my book in terms of he lives in the future, but he's very much present in the now. So what I mean by that is he's clear in terms of where he wants to go and take, whether it's Tesla, whether it's SpaceX. Yeah, he's got a clear vision about what he wants it to look like, but also how it's going to go and be. So what he does is he instills that sort of philosophy, that ownership, that future thinking into his team, into the way they go and work now. So part of it is who do you need to go and be? Can you be that person now? Yeah, within your organization, within your team, to go and accelerate sort of your growth. That makes sense, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but on the same side, on the other side of the coin, he's saying, okay, there's also the reality of what's going on in the day-to-day environment. So I also need to go confront, the brutal facts of what's happening and make sure we address those as well. But he's very much anchored in the future about where he's going to. So I think one of the key skills to say Elon does and Jeff Bezos does exactly the same thing is having that clear vision, inspiring people and making sure they're being that person now who they need to go and be to go and deliver that vision.
No, for sure. No, that's great example there. And that's what actually ties it right into my next question, just about around developing habits, because if obviously you're trying to see what's going on in the future, but also deal with the reality and make sure you're inspiring your team, what sort of habits do you need to build into your day-to-day routine?
Yeah, I mean, habits are. I often think habits get sort of bad press in terms of everybody's talking about breaking habits or bad habits. Yeah, and the people often forget that habits, do serve a purpose. In some ways, they enable you or frees up, your brain to carry on to do the stuff, to focus on the bigger stuff. Yeah, while the habits run almost subconsciously without you even thinking. So, yeah, part of it is building what are those habits you need to go and build to enable you to go and scale, to be able to go and enjoy the actual journey and make it more easy. And for me, there are three areas where that focus needs to be. One is around making sure you've got the right mindset, so building those right habits in the morning, making sure you go to work every day with that right mindset, that positive mindset, which can inspire and drive your business forward. Secondly, is also around energy management. And people forget that you do need to go and look after your health first and foremost. If you haven't got that health there, then you're not going to deliver anything and stuff within your business or go inspire your team. So you need to build those right habits of health, everything from breathing correctly to exercise to meditation. And you see that in all the great leaders. They've got those habits instilled, in the mornings, in the evenings. They're doing that sort of daily. Jeff Bezos, I think, is a classic on that side. And lastly, I think it's around time management. That old adage around time management, there's no magic pill for being great at time management. Everybody has their own ways and it's very bespoke to the individual, but you need to go and master your time. Those which master their time, goes to master your life. So yeah, that time management is really those the third area. So mindset, energy management and time management.
No, I love it. I love it. I mean, all great things, all the great things I talk about in my practice. And there's no point in trying to inspire other people if you don't have the right mindset, the right health, and just that positive energy going into that daily routine. So I agree with you 100%.
That's why we were both down the gym at the recent conference.
Yeah, exactly.
In the morning.
Yeah, it's funny how all the British people were there. So must be something about that. So, you've got people on this, the subscribers and listeners to this show, and they're now thinking to themselves, crap, I'm doing a terrible job of leading my team. I need to rethink. I need to set aside some time to really come up with a plan to, go in and truly lead and inspire my team. What would be a good, starting point for them to start that journey?
I think the first starting point is not beat themselves up about it. It's being aware of, once again, who they need to go and become as individuals. But also, I think partly it's about recognizing where the business sits into their lives and stuff as well. Business isn't everything in your life. You need to look at your whole life sort of holistically. So one thing I very much do, with clients is, okay, well, let's take a step back. You got to make sure you've got a balanced life. Is everything on track to enable you to then go on that scale up journey? The other thing which I often find clients do is they set unrealistic timescales, therefore, which may be set on other people or what they've read in the press, or let's go and put testosterone in and beat everybody else and stuff out there. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the challenge, I think, is about developing a pace of growth that is right for you. That is right, that you can go and enjoy it with everything else that's going on and stuff in your life. And that pace is determined by you. It's not determined something external. You can determine what that pace is. So importantly, one of the key points I actually make in my book is about, growth is a choice. That speed of growth, the pace of growth is a choice. It's about making that choice to actually move forward. The only thing you do need to commit to, as opposed to, are you just purely interested? Are you interested in growth? Or are you committed in growth? The people which will be successful, ultimately are those over whatever timescale, are those which are 100% committed in growth in themselves, but also their businesses.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Stuart, wonderful book. I know our listeners can get it on Amazon. How can people either get a copy of the book or maybe reach out to you directly with more questions, learn more about your journey, your leadership, research you've done? Please contact me. My email address is stuart@highgrowth.com. Or if you would like the actual book, I say it's on Amazon, or just go to the scaleupleader.com. Both are there. Well, thank you, Stuart. Yeah, really great conversation with you. I think there's a lot of great learning from what you've researched from your book. Really appreciate your time today, Stuart. And look forward to staying in touch with you.
Great spending time with you, Robert.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Thank you, Stuart.
Bye.
Bye. Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and you got some great takeaways for your business or for your personal life. This is Robert Clinkenbeard along with David Anderson. I would love to get you and your friends to join us on your journey. If you have any ideas for future speakers, or if you just want to pass this on to friends, family, other business colleagues to sign up and subscribe, that would be awesome. Anyway, thanks everyone, and have a great 2022. Cheers.